How are we feeling, ladies and gentlemen, on a very special Friday night edition of the show? And while I enjoy supporting the cause of breast cancer awareness, that's not the reason why I'm wearing pink and the reason why we have the flowers here on the set. Valentine's Day, happy V-Day to everybody out there. You are locked and loaded on what is the hottest form of Alabama football news, notes, and information you are going to find anywhere. This right here being in My Own Worst, the podcast with your man Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama magazine, coming to you from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And not only are we streaming to you via YouTube, but once again, from my Facebook people and my Periscope people out there coming to you live as well. Like we do each and every week, we encourage you to drop a thumbs up, a like on the show, and subscribe. That lets us know here at TDA to continue pumping you the best in news, notes, content, and coverage on your Crimson Tide football program. It is because of you, the Alabama football fan. We are over 8,000. That's right, over 8,000 subscribers strong. So definitely want to encourage you to continue growing and supporting the channel, network, and the brand. We got a great set of topics to go over on today. We'll start things off by discussing one. Charlie Strong, veteran defensive coordinator and head coach, visited the University of Alabama football program on Thursday. He continued in Tuscaloosa on today. What does this mean? What does the visitation of Charlie Strong to Alabama mean in terms of the Crimson Tide and, more importantly, Pete Golding, who died from the Charlie Strong? From there, we'll touch on, has Alabama found the second coming of Derek Thomas? Has it found it? And Will Anderson. We'll dive into that. And then we'll touch on the Alabama depth at running back and can the Crimson Tide's run game be dominant with a loaded backfield in 2020. But first and foremost, we'll dive into Charlie Strong. The defensive coordinator, Charlie Strong, at 59 years of age, as I mentioned, visited the University of Alabama on Thursday. He was here on campus meeting with Coach Saban and the coaching staff. He continued on today being around about on campus. And this is huge. This is huge. This is interesting just due to Charlie Strong was offered an defensive analyst role for the Florida Gators under the leadership of Dan Mullen. And while much of Strong's success has come as a coordinator in Florida, we're talking about from 2003 to 2009, so 7 years, he has a lot of respect for Florida. He enjoyed Florida. He loved being around the program. But he decided to visit the University of Alabama. This means something because if he was okay, if Charlie Strong was okay with being a defensive analyst, if Charlie Strong was okay with having sort of an off-field role, then there would be no reason as to why he would visit the University of Alabama, right? There would be no reason for him to come to Tuscaloosa to sit down with Nick Saban, to talk with Coach Saban, and to visit this coaching staff. So there is something there. And on top of this, once you have become a head coach or once you have become a major coordinator in a big-time school, offense or defense, it's a very big pill to swallow when you talk about reaching down or going down to be an analyst, especially if you're not in an off-field role at one of the three major schools when you talk in Alabama or Clemson or in Ohio State, for that matter. So there is something to him visiting the University of Alabama. And just looking into Strong's credentials here, 11 years as a defensive coordinator, proven guy. He spent 4 years at South Carolina from 1999 to 2002. Had some success with the Gamecocks. 7 years at Florida from 2003 to 2009. He served in a capacity of roles, including defensive coordinator during his time with the Gators. We're looking at 2 national championships he coached, he provided on defense, 2006 and 2008. That 2006 Florida defense gave up 13.5 points per game. The 08 Florida Gators gave up 12.9 points per game. So very stingy defense as he coached in both of those national championship seasons and Southeastern Conference title seasons. Even the 09 season, the year where, of course, Bama fans, you guys remember, making Tim Tebow cry, making the likes of Urban Meyer have that heart attack, sort of say, and Alabama was able to beat Florida 32-13 in the 2009 Southeastern Conference title game. Well, even in that season, Charlie Strong coached a defense that gave up 12.4 points per game, 252.4 yards per game allowed, a defense that created 39 sacks, and also a defense that created 20 interceptions, including 3 return for touchdowns. Joe Hayden led that team with 4 picks. So, as you can see, as a coordinator, Charlie Strong's the real deal. On top of that, during his time at Florida, produced a number of big names to the National Football League draft. So I've said this before. You have people in life that were born to be head coaches. They were born to micromanage. They were born to lead. They were born to run the ship. You have guys that were born to be coordinators. May not can micromanage everything, may not can lead the whole flock, but they're great strategizers, they're great schemers, they're great planners on either the offensive or defensive side of the football. And then you have those guys that were just meant to be great position coaches. So when I look at Charlie Strong, despite the fact that he held down the head coaching role at Texas, at Louisville, and at South Florida, had some success at Louisville, especially guiding the likes of Teddy Bridgewater to big heights. Of course, Bridgewater now in the National Football League. But despite some success that Charlie Strong had as a head coach, the 59-year-old, let's be honest, a bona fide, big-time, next-level coordinator. And if I'm Nick Saban right now, after having Charlie Strong meet with me and my coaching staff the last 2 days, I'm not letting him get away. I am signing Charlie Strong to a contract. I am signing Charlie Strong to a 3-year deal. I'm saying, Charlie, bruh, give us 3 years. The requirement, Charlie, 3 years. Give me 3 years with you. If you can give me more than 3, by God, that's a blessing from on high. But at the very least, the requirement here, Charlie, 3 years. Because I believe this. If Charlie Strong can give Alabama 3 years, it would be a huge, huge deal, especially when you look at Coach Saban is always trying to figure out ways to upgrade his staff. He always keeps a list of names to look at, attack, call, see if he can get one of those guys off that list into the program to upgrade the staff. And when he looked at this list in terms of defensive coordinator, probably the top name on that list was Jimmy Lake out of Washington. But upon Chris Peterson stepping down and the Huskies saying, Jimmy Lake, we want you to be our guy, Jimmy Lake gets called off the board. The second name on that list became Charlie Strong, and it's been talked about, it's been rumored for quite some time. So having Strong visit the University of Alabama, pretty much a big, big deal there. And if Alabama was to make the move and bring Charlie in here, bring Coach Strong in here, he would be an immediate mentor to 36-year-old Pete Golding. Nick Saban likes Pete. Nick Saban has a great respect for Pete Golding. And for lack of a better term, I feel like Coach Saban sees a lot of himself in Pete, and he wants to, at some point, revisit the conversation of having Golding run this defense again, just seeing how he likes Pete, and the players really like Pete, and recruits seem to really like Pete Golding. But Coach Golding, he needs some nurturing. He needs some guidance. He needs some leadership. He needs to be taught, what does it mean to run a defense at a big-time Power 5 college football level. And, Charlie Strong has that experience. So if having a Charlie Strong in here would definitely mentor Pete, groom Pete, help Pete, get Golding to understand how do you run a defense? How do you make the right substitutions? How do you set the things in motion and having a solid defense, on the field. And also having a guy like Charlie Strong would also help out Freddie Roach. I mean, if you look at this, Freddie Roach is the younger version. He's the young Yoda of Charlie Strong in a sense of he has those mannerisms. He has those attention to detail. He has that fire. He's got that personality about himself. And Freddie Roach is a guy that's a young coach on the rise. He's a young defensive mind on the rise that can potentially be, at some point, a defensive coordinator. So in bringing in, or if you can bring in a Charlie Strong, you actually kill two birds with one stone. If you are solid on Pete Golding running that defense in the future or in years to come, you bring in a Charlie Strong, you have him mentor Pete Golding, teach Pete Golding, have Golding observe what it's like watching a veteran do his thing. But if you don't feel like Pete Golding's your guy, you have a Freddie Roach on staff right now. You can have Charlie Strong come in here, teach him, motivate him, groom him, get him in the mindset of potentially being a defensive coordinator. So you could kill two birds with one stone if you were to bring in a Charlie Strong. And if Alabama makes this move possible, think about the all-star coaching staff you're getting here, Tide fans. Think about this. You bring Charlie Strong in here, right? Peep this. You would have Coach Strong as the DC and the inside linebackers coach. You would keep Sal Sunseri outside linebackers coach. You would have Freddie Roach, defensive line coach. You would have Pete Golding as the co-DC and safeties coach. And you would also have Carl Scott as cornerbacks coach. That's an all-American staff right there. What that would do with Charles Kelly, that would move Charles Kelly to the all-field role of assistant athletics director for all things football. And Nick Saban has talked about being, when you look at the guy you could get in terms of defensive coordinator, he always likes to promote somebody that's already on the staff to that all-field role. He did it with Burton Burns, promoting him or moving him to the all-field role. Of course, Coach Burns now with the New York Giants as its running backs coach. He wanted to have Brian Baker, defensive line coach this past season, in that all-field role. Unfortunately, Brian Baker gets called to the Indianapolis Colts. So what I'm being told by close, highly respectable sources with tenure inside the program is the name that would be transitioned to the all-field role to make room for Charlie Strong if Alabama was to bring him in. That would be Charles Kelly. Alabama would move him to the all-field position of assistant athletics director for all things football. So running through that again, if Alabama was to land Strong, if it was to bring Coach Strong in here, you would have Charlie Strong as defensive coordinator and inside linebackers coach, Sal Sunseri, outside linebackers coach, Freddie Roach, defensive line coach, Pete Golding, co-defensive coordinator and safeties coach, and Carl Scott with corners, a very good staff. But even with that, potentially getting you a national championship and being very good for you defensively, keep this in mind. There's still one more final Powerball. There's still one more final Mondo Lottery jackpot Powerball in play that Nick Saban has in his corner pocket. And that final Powerball is Bo Davis. The conversations with Bo Davis are not dead, people, still very much alive. Once again, I'm being told close, credible sources, highly respectable guys deep within this program that Nick Saban, Nick Saban's agent, Jimmy Sexton, and athletic director Greg Byrne, they're working on the possibility of buying Bo Davis out of his contract with the Lions. He has one more deal left on that contract with the Detroit Lions. That Powerball move still in play to get Bo Davis in here. And if Alabama can land Bo Davis, holy smoke, you talk about Nick Saban trying to go out with a bang. He came into this program with good coaches. If this is the final run of national championships for Nick Saban, he wants to go out with a bang. Perfectionist, having the best recruiting staff, having the best coaching staff, having everything in pocket. But right now, can Alabama land Charlie Strong? That's the question. Folks, we take our first break here on In My Own Words, the podcast. When we get back, we dive into your phone calls right after this.
Every sports fan deserves the proper representation. Whitwell Sports introduces to you the Title Towel. Wave that Title Towel in the air like you just don't care. In support of Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Only $9.99 and it lasts a lifetime. Head on over to whitwellsports.com and get your Title Towel today. Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $5.95 per month or pay $49.95 for a full year subscription. That's a saving of almost $22. Make sure to subscribe before it's too late and get our new freshly printed end of the year magazine issue. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide.
Thank you for watching Touchdown Alabama Magazine's YouTube channel. To continue to get the best in Alabama football content, subscribe here and turn on your notifications to stay connected with the hottest shows covering your Crimson Tide.